My father taught me many things. He taught me, keep your friends close, but your enemies close.
Hey folks, how are you all doing today? Welcome to Kaiser's Castle. Today we're going to do a little bit of what I like to do, some funky poaching, going back into my backstory. And I like to do this every once in a while. For all the haters, drink that hater-aid. The funniest part about this shit really gets to it. Now, you're seeing a picture when we bodyguarded Steve Martin. You guys have probably seen it before. Those that are pointers that have been here for a while. Thank you for sitting in my big orange couch. And feel free to drink your coffee, tea, soda, or adult libation. Matters not. While you sit there. You're all welcome. Here's the point. I'm about to shed light on something. Now, I got to give a shout out to the people in that photo. We have Sergeant Rogers. We have Staff Sergeant McGowan. We're going left to right, bottom to top. We have Lance Corporal Everett, Lance Corporal Claycamp, who died. He was, when he got out, he was a personal care person for somebody who was dying, and they came in to rob her, or him. I can't remember the specifics. And he's in the back row, and they killed him with a knife. The robbers did, and he didn't have a gun with him. So, always will miss Lance Corporal Claycamp. He was a good man. Then you have Steve Martin, who was our protectee. And then you have me in the foreground, kneeling right in front of Steve Martin. And on the right, you have Staff Sergeant Peterson, who gave me the highest compliment I ever had. I asked him, him and McGowan, they were both CID at the time. And they probably retired as CID. Who cares? Who knows? Criminal Investigations Division of the Marine Corps. They were trying to screw with me. One played bad cop, one played good. I'll let you guess who did which. I didn't give a fuck because they were a joke to me, but I said, hey, you still think I'm a piece of shit? Because in garrison, they, when MPs are bored, they investigate their own. And he goes, Shuff, in garrison, you're a nightmare, but I can't replace you in the field. And I said, hey, Staff Sergeant, isn't that what we're supposed to be? Field Marines? And with that being said, Baz is going to be my sidekick on this journey tonight, and he's going to be the Grand Inquisitor. He's going to be the guy who asks me questions. If he doesn't understand something, he'll let me know, and that way I don't lose you all. This is a story about my first contract that was a singular contract. That means nobody else but me. And it started with a guy who went by the name of John Smith. With that being said, I'll let Baz come in and he can fill you in on what he remembers of this story back in the day. Hey Baz, what's up, brother?
All good, brother. All good for yourself.
Can't complain. If I did, people just point and laugh.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have good Thanksgiving?
Oh, hell yeah. You saw that.
Yeah, it looked tasty.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously we've been chatting about this show for a while, and I think the best way to do it is as if I don't know anything about it, and I'll just ask you the questions, like you say, like the interview type of deal. And again, it'll just shed some light on some of the things that you've been up to, and maybe answer a few questions for the people out there. So obviously, it was some time ago. You're looking like 8-9 years ago when this fuckery went down, and things didn't seem what they seemed in the first place. If you know what I mean, there was some changes made that didn't match up to your expectations and your standards. So tell us a bit about it, mate. Just lay the foundations.
Not a problem at all. What I'll tell you is, I think it was on or about late 20, well, not late, but late June or early July 2011, if I remember right. It could have been 2010, but I think it was 2011 by the passport stamps. It was only like a month out. So I got there in August. So it would have been late June, early July. There was a murder and 4 arsons on an island in the Riau Islands of Indonesia. And this island happened to be called Pulau Padang. And the other arsons happened on another island. We had to take a speedboat down there. There's a north and a south component. I'll get into that a little later. But what happened was this John Smith, who had been on my page since when Facebook first started. This is how contracts actually are born. A lot of you folks don't realize that you have people that do what I do on Facebook every day and through instant message. This is how contracts are born. They're not born in other ways. It's, are you available? What are you doing? If you're not doing anything, you want a job. Well, this one was an interesting job to me. It was a singular job, but he wanted me to build a team. And I have no problem doing that. I have enough assets. And the PHU, the Pipe Hitters Union, not the motorcycle club, not the clothing line. We're talking real pipe hitters. People that actually do it live on both feet and can sing about it and say, fuck you. But here's the point. He wants me to do this. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's for real, we'll see. Well, a month goes on and he's finally like, okay, I got the funding from the primary. Well, the primary was a company called April Paper Manufacturing. On Pulau Padang, you'll see pictures coming up. Not right now, because I'm going to get into it slowly. They gave him the funding. And I went to a thing called Turkey Shoot when I arrived in Singapore before that. And I'll pull the picture up from Singapore so you guys can see. And that was me then. And of course, you'll see as I drop everything down, Singtel, there's proof. I was in Singapore. The most highly, and I used to say England, was the most highly, how do you put this? Surveilled country on the planet until I went to Singapore. And there's a lot of reasons for that. They track, 7-Eleven helps. If you need, they have these little tools like you see on our highways that truckers only use to track their movements. You have to buy a little card, shove it up in this little apparatus, and it lets the government know where you're at. When you get a cell phone, an actual cell phone with a SIM card, you have to scan your passport and the SIM card thing to allow you to use your phone. That's just the way it is. Luckily, the guy I was working for, he had a workaround on that. And back then there was something called a BlackBerry. I don't even know if they still exist. Do they exist, brother?
I think yeah, that in some sort of inversion or you know what I mean. I think that they've gone down like two screen versions now, type of BlackBerries.
Okay, well, these were the old traditional, had a typewriter in your hand. You had
Yeah.
to use your thumbs. Um, anyway, so he gives me that, and it was supposedly completely safe. And, well, we'll see on that here in a little bit as the story grows. Anyways, the gentleman's name that I actually ended up doing business with was a guy by the name of Andy or Andrew or Andreas, which is his real name, Vema. He's an Austrian citizenship. Great guy. He's an actual doctor, not a MD doctor. He has his doctorate in Southeast Asian terrorism. And he asked me, "Can you come down here and check this out?" Because when you're known about something, people actually want you to look into things. And I've done this numerous times in my time. Am I correct on this, Baz? Am I fraudulating any of it?
Yeah, I dare say you're a specialist in a specialised niche.
Yes. Now, this was a homicide, so I already knew I would have to bring in a couple homicide people that I know from a couple different agencies, and I did bring them in. I'll give them a shout out right now, Mike and Rich. I'm not going to say their agencies, but they were both retired detectives in homicide. And they gave me much advice during this time. Unfortunately, they both got pissed at me. We're all good now, but Andrea said, "Where'd you get this info on this, that, and the other?" And I was just like talking to him. No, the son of a bitch at the end of it, and I don't mean son of a bitch in a bad way. I just mean he put it in his final report. In the addendum. So, anyways, during that time that I'm showing this picture, there was an interesting thing that happened. And what happened was he had a thing called turkey shoot. And he laid out all the parameters of what he wanted to be looked at, to be seen. And I had no problems about that. You know, he gave out names, said there was this one dude that you're going to see later in this program. One dude that we just don't know who the hell he is. Gave me his passport picture, all this shit, you know. And I'm like, well, I'll stir it up. It was Baz. It's nothing more than, I know you've done this before, where you kick up stones. You want to see who shakes out, and you want to see. And brother, this was the flopping fish from kicking up stones. That when I get into this detail, you're going to be laughing your dick off. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like you say, it's again in all different kinds of work. It's that people don't really know what's going on, so they give you that enough rope to go and, I won't say hang yourself, but to operate in your environment. And sometimes it does take just to where you're at, you don't know where to start, you don't know what direction to be, so you do just, like you said, kick over stones, poke a hornet's nest, and then to see what transcribes from there. Yeah,
Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. The first stone I kicked up, and he was like, "You need to rev up on it, rev up on it." And I was like, "Shut the fuck up," because I was told to investigate a couple things. That was my contract. Arsons, and, you know, I can investigate an arson. That's not a problem. That's chemical shit, scrapings, this, that, and the other, and have them analyzed. But then the homicide, that was a little different. So going to the next phase of this, he says, "Meet me at the Singapore Yacht Club." And there I am, right there at the Singapore Yacht Club, and smiling and waving. And Andreas Vema took that photo, didn't you, buddy? Yeah, you did. And there I am, chilling. And before that, a ship came up, and it was called the Rong Dong. That's what it was called. Yeah, straight up is, bruh. And that that ship was painted all green. And there was a couple people that were women that were dumping the shitter in the yacht club. But I think everybody else understands that the Wrong Dong was just renamed. It's called the Rainbow Warrior, Greenpeace. So this was eco-terrorism. I knew that from the point. The ship's captain came off while the two man-hating women were dumping the shitter. Trust me, man, if I could tell you what they look like and I don't want to get banned on YouTube, you'd be like, dude, that's hilarious. It was hilarious. But this dude comes off and he's a typical looking cuck and he sits right down next to me. And I'm like, yeah, how's it going, man? He's like, man, it's been a rough few weeks out here. And I'm like, oh, I bet, man. So you're just chilling? And I'm like, yeah, I'm chilling. Now this all made it into Andreas Vema's report. So this is fact. I'm like, wow. So what you been up to? Oh, man, it's been rough, you know. Getting out there doing this, that, and the other. It was all bullshit stuff he was throwing out. He was the captain of the ship. He said, I'm the captain of the ship. I said, that's a nice looking ship. I saw you come off. Yeah. He goes, you got a boat out here? I said, yeah, it's over there. Pointing to a boat that wasn't mine. And so anyways, my phone rings when he walks away. And it's Andreas. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, well, I talked to a sea captain of the Wrong Dong. And he goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, we were just talking for a few minutes. He's like, you were talking to the ship's captain of who I think did this. And I said, well, we'll find that out. And he comes up with this other ass clown. I can't remember that guy's name. I'm not saying Andreas was an ass clown, but the other guy, I have no clue who he was. And so we go up there. We have a beer. We're chilling. I'm breaking down, and he's like, you got to rev up. You got to rev up. You got to spin up. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. You brought me over here to investigate a homicide. I'm about to end this contract, you dumb fuck. I said, you need to fucking tell me what you want. He goes, oh, I just want to know the truth on things. So I said, okay, then why are you trying to tell me that people are involved? I don't know that yet. So, going on with that, here's how funny it is. I end up heading to Indonesia. I take a flight from April. It was a what do you call those? A Learjet flight from Singapore to Indonesia.
Yeah, like a short haul flight.
Yeah, it was a great time. Didn't have no problems at all, brother. And when I landed, I just was like, well, okay, what's going on with this? And then, of course, I'm pulling up the picture again, my arrival. I landed in Pekanbaru. And Pekanbaru is an area that April has complete control of. And he didn't tell me, grab your luggage. He said, just get off there and then, you know, you'll transfer with the people going up to where April had their headquarters, which I can't even remember at this point, that place. I don't have my notes in front of me, but I'm just going by memory. And so I call him. I said, I'm here, you know, and the people, when I got off and got my visa, which I'm showing on the screen right now, they're like, where do you want your package going? I said, well, wherever the plane's going, I'm going to be going. And then I walk past the window, and, you know, a window facing outside, and I see this guy saying, Mr. Shuff. And I step out of the door real quick, and I'm like, what the hell? What are you? Well, I came to know that's Hamid. And I'm like, Hamed, whatever, however you want to say it. I mean, you know, they pronounce shit so differently over there. But it was Hamed is what it actually meant in Arabic. But because Indonesia is the largest Muslim country on the planet, that string of islands. So it was hilarious. And he's like, I've got to pick you up. I said, wait, I got to get my luggage. So I go back in. Oh, no, my luggage has already been loaded, and it's going to April's little plantation. And I find out where it's going, and he's like, oh, we can drive there. Dude, it took all day to get the fuck up there. And we got up there, and I get my luggage. Now, I'm talking investigative shit. You know, I had searchy shit. I had stuff that will find blood splatter, which I have all those pictures, but I'm not going to put it up on Facebook because there's also other pictures that it'll get my, not Facebook, but YouTube. It'll get my YouTube pulled down. But I will show you later on what the pictures are. You have any questions at this point, brother?
No, I'm all good, bro.
Cool. So, we get down there, and I start meeting people. And, see, here's the thing. Even Robert David Still will say, you know, you're going to meet all kinds of people. The best kind of people are usually in DIA because they actually talk to people. And CIA pretty much are case officers. They just develop spies. But this is a funny part that I'm going to throw up right now. So as I'm in Indonesia, we picked up my shit. Everything's good. We're at a hotel. We're going out looking for, and you got to understand, Indonesia is on lock. Them motherfuckers monitor everything coming in or out. And this dude's following me. And I see him following me. See him everywhere. Same dude. With that being said, I asked Hamid, I said, hey, this commando, Indonesian commando, comes up on his bike, chilling. He's not a problem to me. You can see his lanyard. He has a gun on his hip. You just can't see it. He wants to take a picture with me for whatever reason. And I wanted to take a picture of him. But I told Hamid, move left. And he did. And in that background, you'll see the little fucker that was following me.
I've seen it.
You've seen it. You've seen it. This is what happens. This is the real deal. This is how you develop stuff. And Andreas goes nuts. Oh, you're being followed. I'm like, yeah, job will be fine. Shut the fuck up. I'll get it done. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So anyways, I find another boat. Can't get into the pictures on that just because there are certain pictures I'm not going to share. Either it'll get my YouTube pulled down, or the other thing that can happen is it'll give away people who actually I know. So you'll see I will blur people's faces in this. So we get to Pulau Padang. That was the name of the island. And when we get there, first people I meet are Brimob. And as you can see, the guy with the white lanyard over his shoulder on the left, with the white holster, he's a military policeman and cross pistols. Now, we're living in an area where we all communally eat. It's a restaurant type of deal. We all pay for our food, except for them. You know, I had to. Hanging with them, chilling. Had no issues with any of them. But it's also a communal bathing area with this black water. Brother, I was as dark as them by the time I left. That water dyes you. Okay?
You know.
And it's because Pulau Padang is a volcanic island, but these trees that grow on it, they're super prolific. They drop their fronds, their leaves, well, it's actually not leaves. It's just the way they're branches are, you'll see this in other photos, into the water, and it's like 9 meters. It floats. So you dig down a couple feet and you have water. And so the bathing area was a place where you just jumped into the water. You jumped out, you grabbed a bucket, and you bathed. And military police over there use cross pistols as their military police signal. Just like, and of course, you know, my back tattoo has cross pistols. My cover at that time was as an insurance adjuster. And of course, I had to say, yeah, I'm a former military policeman, and this is what's going on. And, you know, the MP was hip to it. You know, yeah, it makes sense. But of course, there's no insurance adjusters in Indonesia. So, you know, whatever. They didn't know that. Even the sergeant major there didn't know that. You'll see a picture of him from behind a little later. So I start developing relationships. Well, Andrew didn't like that. He was like, quit talking to Brimob. Brimob, they're the riot police. And he didn't understand I had an MP. The MP and I, we were totally tight. And two people, and then the third on the guy I got my arm around on the right hand side picture, that's that same MP. It's just a different angle, and he looks totally different. It's funny as fuck to me, but it's the same dude. And we're just chilling, all of us hanging. Every night we did. So I start trying to kick the stones, as we say in the biz. And I start talking to the people. And I have a picture of the people that I was talking to. Those are people that were there when, you know, the attack happened. And
yeah.
I just wanted to see who would come. And this one dude, I had his passport picture. I knew who he was. I saw it all. I knew what was happening. Now, are there any questions from you? Honestly, bring it up if you think I've held something short shrift.
Am I right in saying that the Andreas, the client as such, was trying to sort of like steer the investigation the way he wanted it?
You're exactly correct. And we'll get into that in the back end of it. Yeah, he wanted it to be something that he thought it was. And I'm like, the facts will tell me. So, anyway, so I'm talking to these people, have no idea what I'm going to get, but the guy I got my arm around was the only English speaker there. We had a good time talking, and the people we ate communally. It was a super good time. Had a really good time with it. So at about this time, I decided, well, it's time on the first day. Now you're going to see, how do I put this? I got to pull this up. I got to find out right where I put it. There it is. Now, this picture will show two separate times. One is on the left, was the first time I went down the canals, because there's canals. Now, on the right-hand side of me, and I've got the guy blurred to the very back, his face, because he was my translator. I had no logistical anything. I had nothing. I had only a translator. And I had a driver, and the driver, you know, decided to go away. You know, so he's not in these photos at all. He was supposedly getting married. Who knows? So it's just me and that guy. And not going to point him out, but this dude was my translator. And the guy with the hat to the right of him, right behind me, he was one of Andreas's former employees. And he kept thinking, Bule is the name they call white people in Indonesia. And he thought I was bringing back that company. So anybody hip to Indonesian security companies will know what that is. And I'm only not bringing that up because that's how Andreas got us burned on the first day I landed. And I'm not posting any of those photos because there's too many people that are innocent on that I don't need to do that. The only reason I'm posting that picture with that guy is his eyes are covered. He's got the hat on. He could be anybody. And I don't know him. But he was all excited. Oh, you're bringing back this company. I'm not going to say the name of the company either. People who are hip will know. So that was my first time going out to the incident. And the incident was right here. And I'll tell you what happened. This is where Mike and Rich came involved. There was an arson of this vehicle. I've also got pictures of a different camp up north. And also the reason why you have that little shanty next to it, the blue shanty, that's where the body laid. And I got blood samples and also, I was able to get lights to prove that there was, DNA material, blue light material. I sprayed the chemical that you do to reveal that. I'm not getting into specifics. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I was surprised. Now, this is about 30 days, maybe a little more after in a jungle environment, and it was still showing up. And that's why I was able to collect that. So I called my two people. One of them, Mike, said tint the entire fucking thing. And I brought Circa, what they call, in America, it's super glue, right? You just fume something. You're fuming something to find prints. Well, I covered this entire device. That device, a lot of people think is like a crane kind of device. No, it pulls down trees. The only trees left standing are the ones that are protected, And they shot this guy through the door. I can't show those pictures of the door or the autopsy or any of this. This is stuff I had. And they blasted him through the door. He was a dead man. They did it from the jungle. I've got pictures from where they actually shot at. Just because, when people are cutting down. But the point is, it was an illegal logging operation under the cover of being eco-terrorist. They were acting like they were ecology, all concerned with the ecology. No, they steal lumber. And that's a fact. And
it's quite a lucrative industry, the illegal logging. I come across it in the former Yugoslavia a few years ago. We were doing some work out there, anti-illegal logging, and it was actually surprising how much money that rakes in. I mean, it's not as much as like sort of the international like cocaine or heroin business, but it's multi-millions in if not hundreds of millions. So yeah, it's quite a lucrative business. So you can see why there's sort of like other nefarious deeds surrounding it.
Of course, and that was the whole problem, and that's what I said. But they used that as cover. And so as I'm looking at this shit, man, and I just keep looking and diving into it, I got Andrew had said, oh, they don't wear gloves. Indonesians don't wear gloves. And I'm like, dude, they're moving around cables. These cars or these vehicles still have cables, to control the arm and different things. And I'm like, they have to. And I found a glove print, which I'm not posting on here just because. I will post it when my book comes out. there's a lot of stuff I'm not posting just because of two reasons. I had a 2-year gag order. That's what I was told. Well, I'm way past that. And this is my first video on it. The second reason is because I will put all these details in my book. Andrew wrote a report. It is what it is. But there was a guy he could never find. He just was like, man, I just can't find this guy. Who is this guy? He gave me his passport picture, everything. And it was hilarious because I did kick the trees. And guess what? All of a sudden this dude shows up. This is after I tint everything, get all the evidence that I needed. And it was analyzed, but that's a whole different ending to the story that I'm not going to get into now on this video. But this dude shows up one day. There he is. Oh my God. And I just talk to him, chill with him, and put my arm around him lovingly. And I put my fingers up and I'm like, this is the bitch. I found him. And that's a successful operation where he didn't know he got made and he didn't know I was making him. I was there specifically to hunt him. Now you know this on one of my things that like you said earlier, I'm very specific on how I hunt and I go after a target. And with him I was able to roll up a lot of other things. You have any questions?
No, I'm good, mate.
Okay. Well, with him, I was able to research more and find out that what they used to kill this dude, they had air rifles. And it's legal in Indonesia. And what they did was harden the barrels. And once they hardened the barrels, it's almost like a sleeve attachment around it. They would use shotgun primers that were smuggled in, and it became like a musket. And so the attack was with these rounds. If you were to see I will post, I'm not going to do it now, but in my book I'll post pictures of the door because I have those pictures. And you'll be surprised, dude, they're like 50 caliber rounds. They're half-inch rounds that breached the door to kill that contractor. And it was absolutely amazing the ingenuity these people had. And it was just to stop April from taking trees. And I also have some pictures of the actual illegal logging shack they had. They were about probably 100 yards from the logging area. And it caused everything to stop. And guess what? Brimob, or when I tinted that, they actually sent out commandos, Indonesian commandos, to see what I was doing when I pulled the super glue things from Circa, those big packets. When I pulled them out to start printing everything, they actually sent those dudes out. And it was hilarious to me. I was like, okay, so that's what you're doing, you know? And they didn't know what I was doing. But when I went back there, 2 of the commandos walked back with me. And they were like, what the fuck? You know, you could see it on their face. And I just acted like it was nothing, you know, and walked back.
Yeah.
But it was about 100 yards away. And that's why. In that thick jungle growth, that's what they were protecting. And that's why they shot that guy.
So you go on to where things started to go wrong, if you know what I mean.
I do. Here's where it went wrong. It's absolutely hilarious. And the second picture on the right that I just posted up, we were going to the North Island. north of the island, taking a speedboat up there. Notice my little kit. I got that in the back, waving, having a good time. That's how you handle this shit. You're just a vacationer. You're a tourist. Nobody needs to know what you're doing. Here's the funniest part. I knew it was going wrong when two things happened. I get up there, I see the Arsons. That was the majority of the Arsons. Now, with that tinted vehicle, they burned the vehicle. You can't really see it from the way I tinted it, but if you were to see the cab, that's what they did, and the guy was fried too. They used Molotov cocktails. They were communist. That's fact. If you want to know, please ask me some questions on how Indonesians are communist instead of being, just Muslims. And I'd love to respond to it.
Yeah, it's a strange old nation. That cluster of islands down there. It's very one island can differ from the other. I've never worked out there, but I've got good friends that have worked out. They've done time out there and stuff like that, and they said it is quite weird, even though it's like really hardline. You know what I mean? Islamic law. They've got Sharia out there, but again, there's that huge communist influence. Do you want to just sort of like just touch on that slightly?
Oh yeah, I'll touch on that heavily, not slightly. The women all want to be whores because that's how they make their money. That's a fact. And the men want to drink. So, like Al Qaeda can't take hold, but they are a Muslim country, and they do follow it strictly. Except they don't follow. I guess the women are spreading their legs for anybody who will pay. And I know that for a fact because of, my language assistant and somebody else I know bought women there. The men do like to drink. There was a time, I'll give you an example of this. Beer is legal on Indonesia. And me and my driver, which was my language assistant, the guy blurred out his face, we stopped and bought some beer at a roadside area. And every shop until you get to the cities, like Medan, Pekanbaru. I also went up there for a special little thing where Barack Obama has a statue, and there's another person buried there. For my own personal thing while I was there. And that's a whole different place. And all you got to do is look up the capital city of Indonesia, and that's all you'll know. I'm not getting into the specifics. But my interest was sated. I know the truth on that. But a lot of people won't look into this shit. But here's the point. Is that I saw how this shit went. And so we're driving back to Pekanbaru, if I remember right. And we'd left Medan. And my driver's like, hey, you got a beer? I'm like, sure. We had like a case on the floor. So I give him a beer. I'm tired. Been up all night. We both wake up on the side of the road next to a roundabout. He just pulled off to the side. He was drunk as fuck. I looked at him and I said, are you okay to drive? Most of the beer's gone. I think I had 2 or 3 beers. And I was like, okay, you're good? Let's go. And we went. And then we went to a couple other places, and I made my final transit out of that fuckhole to Singapore, and I did it by a jet boat, and got there pretty quickly. Only time I've ever had a quote unquote text hit is hilarious to me. Was for smuggling cigarettes. I had 10 cigarettes in my pocket. It's hilarious. And the guy sees them in my pocket as I'm throwing my shit through the magnetometer and the X-ray. And the guy looks at me and goes, "Is that all of the cigarettes you have?" And I'm like, he said it to me, that I have, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So I have on me. And I said, but I have. And as I said, but I have, he pulls my thing out and pulls the cigarettes out. I have another pack. And he's like, "Oh, you're smuggling cigarettes." Yeah, I had another pack. Indonesia, you can only travel there with 20 cigarettes. Or Singapore, you can only bring 20 cigarettes into that fucking country. So, yeah, they charged me 300 fucking Singaporean dollars. And I had to tax it for 7 years, which is lapsed. That's why I waited so long to make this video. Yeah, I had a 2-year squelch by Andreas. And honestly, I don't hate Andreas. It's funny to me. You know, he presented something one way, and we'll get into it towards the end on how he switched the game. But yeah, it was after we went north. Once we went north, I saw where the fuckery was afoot. And I realized that it was a communist push into Pulau Padang. And, well, fuck, Baz. You know me well enough to know I can put up with Muslims, I can put up with everything, but communism, that's the thing that gets my ire. Because now you're working against my country's assets.
Yeah.
And just riff for a few minutes and tell them what you remember from that era.
Yeah, it's just, what I'll do is I'll just touch on, obviously, where there's like guidelines, like you said earlier, just before we started the show, where there's sort of guidelines that you work alongside. And I would dare say that a lot of these guidelines come from your past, from sort of like your army, your Marines, and then your future career after that. And it's like with any sort of like professional armed forces sort of background, and even law enforcement and such, where you get given a set of values and standards like loyalty, commitment, respect for others, and then there's your own personal tenets. You know what I mean? Like you won't do this, you won't do that. Again, it depends what sort of line of work you're in. Let's say you're kicking doors in and shooting fucking fools in the face. Then, even if you go into the private sector and you're doing it for private clients, things like that, or a private company, then you still live by these rules. You know what I mean? There's certain people that you won't shoot, and there's certain things that you won't do. You know that we know of been done in the past. Not only for private clients, but in the name of national security and the nation's security, things that happen within Iraq that we know how that have been widely publicised, like the abuse of prisoners, the Blackwater sort of controversy and stuff like that. And it's, you know, each man and each woman or each operator or each person that goes to do this line of work has got their own values and standards, you know. And I know yours are pretty high up there. You know, there's certain things that you will do and there's certain things that you won't certainly do. And if you do get wind that things are going down that line, then you've got to ask yourself that question. Are these going against my values and standards? You know what I mean? Am I going to be less of an honourable man if I carry on down this line of work? And I know sort of that this job sort of raised that question with you, if you know what I mean. And you certainly asked yourself, you asked yourself that question, and you touch on that some more.
Yeah, I'll tell you how it raised that question. Look, nobody who comes to a nation state, if they're going to do a job, nobody nobody who goes there should ever want to think that they're invited there. You're going there to break the law. That's a fact. I wasn't invited there to investigate that. I was invited by a Chinese company, a secondary fucking country, to find out the truth. They wanted to know the truth. And Andrew wanted to take the contract in a different way that I won't do. And I had to explain to him in particular why I won't do that. And he was shocked with me. And then, of course, I said I'll finish it up. And then he fucked me on my final pay, so he can eat a dick on that one. But I had to have a come to Jesus moment. I said there's 56 people involved. I knew all the players by the time I left. And I said, but you don't understand. If somebody takes you up on your offer, there's 57. And if they're serious, it's a heavy 6-figure salary. And half up front and the last half at the end. And if that last half isn't paid, unfortunately and fortunately for him, I met his family. They were great people. He was married to I don't even want to say who he was married to, but a good person. And the kids were awesome. Hopefully they're serving. They were given by him good standards. This is what blows me away. All of them wanted to serve. The kids wanted to serve in the Singaporean army. So they're awesome kids. I'm not going to ever talk shit about them. And I'm not going to talk shit about his wife or really him. But he wanted to take it in a different direction. I said, for the price you want to pay, man, I'll go back and find a crackhead to finish this project out. Went back, did the entire look-see with the DNA and everything, and he just became too grabby. And I was like, well, fuckaroo, because I'm done with you. And that's how this works. So when people don't understand that we work outside of, actually, partially the law, we go out there and look into things, and we give the facts. And the facts to who, what, when, where, why, and how were all solved. And I love the way you ask, did he want me to do something that was different, that shouldn't be going on? Yes, he did. And he wanted to, and he did control the narrative. And it caused, like I said in the beginning of this program, for about a month, a rift between two brothers that I've had for years. And those two brothers were Rich and Mike. And I don't have that rift anymore because I explained exactly how he asked the question. Murder's not my thing, you know, investigating a fucking murder. There's always experts I can lean on. And I brought two great experts in. And I tinted it, got everything that I needed, and the evidence. And if he would have paid the final bill, he would have gotten all that too. But guess what? He didn't. But he did know who the players were. And it constantly makes me think, I wonder what he did with that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and again, it depends who's behind that. Like you said, it was a Chinese company, and the Chinese are very akin to the Russians. You know, I'm not going to start speculating. Was it or wasn't it a front company or something like that? You know what I mean? Making moves down on the islands. You know, it's but you got to ask yourself certain questions. You know what I mean? That if somebody wants to change the narrative to a certain extent where you're asking people to betray their own standards and go in a direction what the job wasn't advertised at. You know what I mean? You've got to think who's behind it, who's pushing this. Is it for his own gain? Is it for his own ego? Is it bloating his own sort of importance with the client or the secondary client or whoever's paying the bill? And let's say if you've got, right, I've got all this information, I can tell you unequivocally that this person did this, resulted in this, and these people were involved. You know what I mean? If he's only got a partial amount of that, it's like, okay, the ball's in his court, you know what I mean? From both sides, from you and from the client. Look, like the client saying, right, we've given you this project, for example, right? We want these answers. And then he's not got the answers. He's only got probably 50% of the answers. What is he adding to that, or what is he going out of his own in his own remit? What is he doing? Is he clearing this issue up? Is he paying people off? God forbid, fucking people are ended up in holes. You know what I mean? With fucking bullets in the back. You know what I mean? To try and maybe cushion his blow with the client. You know what I mean? But it's not something where you want to go into. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's like how much do I get dragged into this? And I think that's a question that you ask yourself. Like, okay, this is going in a direction now where it's getting dark. It's getting, like you said earlier, there's wherever you operate, whether you operate as a private investigator like you did in another state, another nation, whether you're a PSD out in Iraq or Afghanistan or anywhere in the world, you're working for different rules, even as armed forces. You're working for different rules. You're working for your own nation's rule because you're a citizen of that nation. So if you do certain acts out in Indonesia or in Iraq or in Africa or something, you're still held to your nation's laws if you are serving under your nation's flag as a soldier, as a marine, as an airman.
Or even as a contractor. Or even
even as a contractor, because obviously the company that you're working for has to abide by their home nation's rules, laws, policies, and the nation that you're operating in. Also depends if you're working under the United Nations, NATO, your own forces. My mind's gone blank.
Your own nation's policy.
UCMJ. You're held by the UCMJ if you're serving in the military. It's same with us.
Or as a civilian, your own nation's policy. You can't work against them. That's an entire act in the U.S. and that's the whole point. Once I found out the client, of course I'm looking it up, and that client, April Paper Manufacturing, was Army of China's company. That's how they make money. They're the world's largest paper manufacturing company. And the way they cut down Pulau Padang and replant it, they do that. But see, here's where the communist, not Chinese communists, because Chinese communists at that time were all about business. The communist from America, the captain of the Rongdong, was an American guy. I sat and talked to him for about 30 minutes. I think he was from New York or New Jersey. Really fun guy, but when we were talking, I could see where his bent was. And that's the whole thing, You're now playing in my game, my grass, my sandbox. And at that point, now, the rules have changed a bit. And I know how it was fomented. It was fomented by eco-terrorists. And honestly, in my last assumption of it, and my assumption was correct based on facts, the Indonesians used the idea of being ecologists to justify the shit they did, the
Yeah, yeah.
murder and the arsons.
And like I say, if the your client, your let's say paymaster for a better word, had played the game, had honoured his end of the deal, you know what I mean, without eh, adjusting those boundaries, then you know what I mean, he'd have had all the answers. And it takes me back to like the point I was making a few minutes ago. It doesn't matter what law you operate in, but it gets to a certain point at a certain, you know, it's pretty black and white when you're working within the military, because you've got all these people above you making these decisions. You've got army legal or whatever, JAG or whoever making legal decisions for you. Then you've got your nation's policies. But when you're working, like say, as you were, sort of an independent contractor, as an investigator in a foreign nation, you're not necessarily breaking laws, but you're not necessarily abiding by them. And all these laws that we work towards, or work alongside, or we're meant to work in between, you've sort of got to be a mist. You've got to work your way through them, sort of like a limbo. You know what I mean? Like people say rules are meant to be broken. The people say laws aren't meant to be broken, but there's certain ways and loopholes that you can actually operate um, under the guise of this, by loopholes and using grey areas and areas of contention where you can get work done, if you know what I mean. But then that's on you. That's on that individual. It's when, like you said there, where you've got people changing the narrative to, right, this is what we want to do now, and it pushes you outside that one of your personal moral compass and your moral laws, for example, or then outside of either your nation's laws or the nation's laws that you're operating in, that could create issues. And at the end of the day, you know, when you're in that fucking 4x6 cell, you can't turn around and go, oh, well, because he told me to. It's your decision at the end of the day. It's your chemical decision at the end of the day that's put you in that situation. No one's forced you to do it. I mean, have you got anything else to add to that?
Oh yeah, it's My Chemical Romance, man. I mean, I'm not gonna get involved in some weirdness that somebody else, the sticky wet masturbational fantasy, wants it to be. I'll give the facts: who, what, when, where, why, and how. But in the end, I know where my bread is buttered, and that's the way you have to deal with all clients. Because honestly, in this game, I found one thing very particular. You know, this was my first gig, and I've often talked about this, even with you, I think, brother, that when you go alone and there's nobody else there, you don't have logistics support. You don't have a reliable language support if you don't know that. You don't have a lot of reliability, then everything's suspect. And then when the paymaster, you said it correctly, it's not a problem that you said that. When the paymaster is dodgy and is not feeding proper, and trust me, I heard some of his conversations on the phone about somebody else. I was like, okay, this guy's, you know, there is a point where you are a cunt, 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 a big fat stinking cunt. And everybody knows from your head to your toes that you're a big fat stinking cunt. At that point, you know this is not going to work. And at that point, you know, you'll go as far as you can, but when loss of faith happens, when they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain, your bargain ends also. And so my hands are clean. The only thing I felt bad about, and I give all props to both of those gentlemen, all they did was to tell me, look at this, look at this, look at this. And then he throws them into his narrative in his final write-up. That's a cunt. And well, you know this as well as everybody on my page. I've been asked to look into a lot of shit from communists, even within our own country. And, I've been vilified for it, but I don't really give a fuck. Call me a Nazi, call me a fascist, it doesn't matter. Because I know the truth. But you don't. And, I guess that's kind of the jam that I like, is that I'm able to be my country's scapegoat, and I'm good with that. And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, it's that sacrifice that you make, not necessarily your life, but you're happy to make. Not so much in the line of duty, but if that's what it takes, if the outside persona, let's say the social media online persona is mad, then in reality, who gives a fuck? Because the people that need to know who you are, and we've touched on this fucking hundreds of times, mate, in our shows, of the people that matter, that know who you are those people in that close circle. Your family, your friends, your loved ones, the people that you work alongside, you know what I mean? They're the ones that know that is the shuff, not the shuff that's on there, or the shuff that this person said because he's got 5% information of 150% actual incident. You know what I mean? It's all bullshit, mate. Again, we won't go down that path because again we've touched on it before. But it's all that matters. And going back to this, like your story, it's at that point you turn around and go, this is no longer for me, because it's not going to affect that online persona, because that's not even coming into it. This is personal shit, you know what I mean? This is
exactly.
They want you to do this. And let's be honest, if you could have gone down a certain route, not only it might have broken that nation's laws, it might have broken the US laws, and broken your own laws. And at the end of the day, the paymaster, the Andreas, you know what I mean? He's going to use you as a scapegoat. He's going to say, this person said, he said. And at the end of the day, this paper company, they're not going to turn around and go, and especially if it's Chinese backed, from the state backed, you know what I mean? They're not going to turn around and go, okay, we've got these foreign nationals that we're paying third or fourth line, you know what I mean? No one's going to ever fucking stick their hands up for that. It's going to be
exactly
like we say, shit rolls downhill, and guess who's at the fucking bottom rung of the ladder?
Yes, it was.
So,
and that's about the wisdom of doing this job.
Yeah.
It's having seen through that glass ceiling, and knowing that there's a fucking pile of shit rolling down from the top rung, and you've got to make a decision to step aside before it fucking lands squarely on top of your head. And luckily enough, you had the wisdom and the foresight to do that. You know what I mean? And it's landed straight on this fucking this Andreas' his shoulders. You know what I mean? And whatever went down there, that's his business. You know what I mean? And I think that's the best bit about it, that your business then ceased to be his business, and vice versa. But it's just unfortunate that he made some decisions to probably try and save face or save reputation into naming people that really didn't need to be named in sort of reports and write-ups. But that's the nature of the game of being a scapegoat.
I agree, and I'm glad to be my country's scapegoat. I'll do it every day. But the funniest part to me is Mike and Rich both are seamless. They have no issues on this, except for they advised me how to tint the vehicle, and Rich explained to me, that was Mike who taught me or said how to tint it. What you're seeing in that picture is not the final picture. I mean, I tinted that motherfucker. And with Rich, all he did was tell me where to look at for certain things. And good dude. You'll probably meet him one day. A lot of people will. Um, it's just about being real. It's about, here's what the PHU is, the Pipe Hitters Union. It's not T-shirts. It's not fucking a motorcycle club. You know, these people that, oh, I'm in a motorcycle club. We're in the Pipe Hitters Union. No. Pipe Hitters Union, the clothing line, came after what was the Pipe Hitters Union. It was people that will continue the mission and get it done, and it doesn't matter if I have to hit you with a pipe to fucking get my job done. That was what the Pipe Hitters Union was and is, and it still stands strong. And these dumb motherfuckers that want to play off an ego, you know, go to a foreign country all by yourself, not having any backup from anywhere, and get the job done. Then come talk to me. And that's the point. Or do something, even in the U.S., do something that you think, oh my God, this is the most horrible thing I could ever do. Do it and fucking get it right. And be justified. And then you'll know what a pipe hitter is. And that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's a collection of people that have got various different skills and backgrounds and experiences. You know, the Pipe Hitters Unit, it's not people wearing 4-pot nods, carrying suppressed fucking M4 salt mods, kicking in doors and shooting fucking fools in the face. It's people that have done things that generally aren't spoken about in public, generally are done under the guise of a nations for duty or whatever. But they've got the job done no matter what, and it's always done to a high standard and within a good set of standards, as in personal standards and professional standards. You know, I mean, we know we've got a fellow sister in the PH. I'd certainly class her in the PHU that does some really good work. That has nothing to do with about kicking people's doors in and shooting them, you know. And I think you know what we're on about there.
Yep.
You know, I would definitely class her as a pipe hitter, and I know she listens to the shows. And the work that she does is definitely under the radar, but it's priceless work, absolutely priceless work. And I'm not going to touch on anything else there, but it's that type of people that you want alongside, where you might not speak to them for months and months and months and months. It's just passing comments or text or whatever, you know, and then something could come into your remit, and it's like, well, I'm out of my depth here, you know. And again, it's that quality of a pipe hitter that just goes, this is outside my remit. I'm not comfortable doing this, or I'm comfortable doing it, but I need some guidance or outside help, and I know who to go to because I'm in this circle of people, and that's what it's all about. You know what I mean?
It's you do you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Look, bro, I mean this in the most loving way, and you know you're my brother from another mother, Manisha. Manisha. Look, here's the most mind-boggling thing. Is most people will never have, I don't even know how to explain it. They will not ever have the ability to be real with people and to talk real shit. And it boggles my mind. Sister, brother, it matters not. We all go into it with eyes wide open. I mean, I hate to be that catchy, you know, but I love everybody I've met in this Pipe Hitters Union. It's a close group that, you know, was hijacked by a t-shirt line and now a motorcycle club uses it. You know, yeah, okay, you were a cop, you were a fireman, you're a fucking soldier. Did you actually go over there and do something by yourself? Probably some of them have, but probably not the majority. And I can look up several places where the Pipe Hitters Union and Motorcycle Club have done some criminal shit. Guess what? None of us have. And that's professionalism. And any naysayers that want to talk shit, well, remember, when you talk shit, you're usually going to get bit. And that's my point.
Yeah, certainly, mate. Certainly. Look, it's been a really good show, and I'm glad that we've touched on some of the things from your past. You know what I mean? That I know some people will be curious about, and it's a good sort of like, this is the first gig, and this what can go wrong, and it's your decisions that you make that will then define the rest of your, let's say, contractor career, if you know what I mean. There's different paths you can take. You can take the path, like, again, I'm going to sound fucking gay when I say the path of the righteous, you know what I mean, all that bullshit. But you can go down the right path, or you can go down the wrong path. And we've certainly seen what happens when people go down the wrong path. You generally don't hear about what happens when people go down the right path, because, let's be honest, it doesn't make good TV, it doesn't make good headlines, yada, yada, yada. It's only that 1 in a million, you know what I mean, that have done something wrong, and that taints the name of everything else that we do.
Yep.
If you know. But brother, it's been amazing. Yet again on Shuff's big orange couch. I'm gonna finish my drink, my adult libation, and I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna leave you.
That's fine. Love and leave, brother. And with that being said, thank you all for stopping by my big orange couch. And I have a special interlude for you. I've ramped it up by, I think it was 1.25, maybe 1.5, so that maybe doesn't get me flagged. But it's a little something called My Tears Don't Matter Much by Lucero. And that's fact. And I love you all. And guess what? You guys, you pointers out there, you need to respect yourselves as much as we respect you. With that being said, thank you for sitting on my big orange couch. There will be music at the end. And we're going to get this through. We're going to get through this. And it's awesome times. With that being said, listen to the music. I will slowly raise the drawbridge as you exit Kaiser's Castle. And truth has been told tonight. Shove out.